Hi, Matt Allington here. It's Wednesday, the 16th of November, 2022. This is update number 8 of the Murray River Floods 2022. All the links are up on the screen here, also available in the video below. Let's jump over and have a look at the report for today. So you can hear I have a bit of a croaky voice today. No, I don't have COVID, but thanks for asking. Now, let's have a look at the report for today. I've just finished refreshing the report. First of all, I've now brought this Lake Victoria chart onto this page. I can't remember if it was there when I did the last report or not. But what this enables us to do is keep a track of what's happening in Lake Victoria. You'll probably recall from one of my previous videos that there is some storage. There's still 92 gigalitres of storage available in Lake Victoria, and there's a bit of water coming in and there's a bit going out, but it looks like the Murray-Darling Basin Authority is managing that and hopefully keeping that that capacity available so that when the surge comes down, they can take some of the water away from Lock 10 and stop it going down into Lock 9. So we'll continue to monitor that. Also, I just want to point out that I do have some links here to some webcams now, so thanks to Lisa for sending these to me. So these will become interesting once the floods start to come through, just to have a look in the various locations a little bit further up the river in South Australia. So you can see the river's getting pretty close here in Renmark and Waikerie. So if you'd like to have a look at those, they're linked on this first page now. Okay, so let me jump over to the lower river system and let's have a look at what's happening. A little bit of good news here. You'll notice that Waikerie Junction appears to have peaked. So this has certainly flattened out over the last 3 days. So it's peaked at around, here it is here, 167 or thereabouts. So I think that's good news. If you have a look at what's happening coming in from the Murrumbidgee, it's actually fairly flat. It's gone up a little bit, but I would fully expect that both of these numbers get added together to come up around this 203. This was my estimates on how long it would take, but it remains to be seen. If you look at the combined water from the Murrumbidgee and also from Waikerie Junction, it's gone up about whatever that is, 13 and a half gigalitres in the last week. But there is some more water upstream, as I'm sure you know, and we'll talk about that. Also, if you have a look at the Darling here, the Darling's pretty consistent. This water coming in now to Batundi, pretty consistent at about 17 gigalitres a day. So you would think that whatever gets through Lock 15 is definitely going to get this as an addition. All the more reason why we need to keep that Lake Victoria capacity available to take the peak off when it comes through. If you look at what's happening down here at Lock 1, not a lot's happening. We're sort of still around 73, 76. It's been this way for a while. I did hear from Mike that the road going into Big Bend is now under. A couple of days ago, it was about 10 centimetres under or thereabouts. Still passable, but certainly it seems that this flow seems to associate with that road going under. And also, if we have a look at, say, the Swan Reach level, so I think the photo was going back here. So it seems that about 3 metres at Swan Reach, the back road at Big Bend goes under. So it's something to consider and remember for future years. I do want to just jump over to this water coming into Lock 15. So I do have a chart here upstream to Lock 15. And this is where I tried to basically put a time delay on the Waikerie Junction and the Murrumbidgee data to see what's happening. And you can see that with these time adjustments I've got in here, it certainly seems that Lock 15 is following what's coming downstream. So that's another data point that I have to suggest that Lock 15 is probably going to get that 200 or so gigalitres per day. All right, so that's enough of the lower Darling system. Let's jump over to the Murray Basin. So this is the chart I introduced about a week ago. I think it was update 7 or something like that, where I alerted viewers that there's a lot of water upstream. And I see that's now coming out on mainstream media. There's a lot of discussion about that. And there's actually a number of flows. So since I first introduced this, it was actually back here. The peak at Forbes was back here. The peak at Narrandera was back here. And so this has actually changed somewhat, certainly on the Lachlan River, which we'll have a look at in just a moment. But you see that, even though I thought that Forbes had peaked going back at 80 gigalitres a day, it's now had another surge. So there's going to be a couple of surges coming down. And we'll have a look at that in a little bit more detail. Now, as I have mentioned, it's really the timing of these water coming down that's going to make a difference as to whether they're completely additive or not. From what I can see, the water sources are out of phase a little bit, but still a reason to be concerned. So I now have 4 separate pages looking at each of those 4 upstream upper Murray Basin feeders, so we can see what's going on. So let's go and have a look at the Darling. Now take a look what's happening up at Burke. It hasn't peaked yet. It's still on the rise. It's just an amazing amount of water that's coming into Burke. So we're up to 156 gigalitres per day. And then if you follow the map down here through Louth and Tilpa, you'll see that 156, 115, 100. So there is obviously a lag coming through here, but these are all increasing still. And I've got no reason to think that this water is not going to come all the way down. You can see as you get down to the lower Darling that these levels are much lower. There are a whole lot of lakes in here. I understand that they're full, but who knows? There could be all sorts of backwaters that could suck up some of this peak flow as if the land is very low lying, that the whole lot of water will go horizontally rather than straight down the river. But we'll just have to keep a watch on it, and we'll do that over the coming weeks. I'll jump over to the Lachlan now. So the Lachlan River is the one that's had all the news over the last few days. I did see that this Wyangala Dam, I saw on the news last night, I'm sure they said they'd released 200 gigalitres of water, but I'm certainly not seeing that. There's been a couple of peaks here over the last couple of days, but the peak was 79 gigalitres, and they did that over a couple of days. I can't vouch for this data. I'm downloading it from the available sources, but certainly a lot of water upstream at Wyangala Dam. And so that's going to now flow down to Cowrie. You can see that it's already there. And poor old Forbes, it thought it had probably peaked back here. But now we've got these other 2 much bigger surges coming through. So that's obviously going to be a problem for the people of Forbes. And you can see these other data points downstream haven't really started to be severely impacted yet. 32 gigalitres a day is not too bad. You can also see there's a lot of lakes here, and this almost looks like a delta. And so I'm just not clear what's going to happen with this water, whether it's going to spread out into these lakes. And once again, that horizontal holding of water, whether that takes the peak flows off, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. We'll jump over to the Murrumbidgee River, and so I started tracking the water here from Narandra, but it's well off the peak now. So certainly the Murrumbidgee appears to have peaked, although there's been a bit of rain, and so who knows what's going to happen, whether there'll be another peak or not. But this water is well on its way down. And interesting, if you have a look at the peak here at Narandra, it's been 8 days since the peak. And if we come over to this one, you can see it's 5 days. So 3 days to get down from Narandra to Darlington Point. I think I called it Darling Point last time. And then even Carrathul has peaked. That's about a day ago. So there's sort of 1 day, so 4 days up to there, and then another 3 days up to here. So it's coming down here pretty quickly. And ultimately, this is going to go into Balranald, which, as you know, then feeds in, if we go back to this lower system map here, the water from Balranald is this water that's coming in here from the Murrumbidgee. And so this is quite low at the moment at around 36, but you can see it's coming down pretty fast. And if we go and have a look at the Murrumbidgee, so once again, this is the 36 that I just showed you that's currently coming in, but see that that's growing. I'm not really sure what's going on here with Maud and Redbank. These 2 data points I've picked up, but you can see there's a lot more coming in at Balranald. So it's almost as if there's some lakes in here where the water is maybe bypassing these measuring points. But I think this Carrathul number, when we see this start to come down to Balranald, that's going to be a bit of a concern. All right, I'm going to jump over to the mid-Murray map, and if you have a look here, you can see that I'm starting all the way up here at Doctor's Point. So there's a lot of water up here, 85, but there's actually even higher peaks coming down at Yarrawonga. So I'm assuming that this water's coming in from Victoria here, maybe even from New South Wales, although I guess this is the catchment area. Maybe this is the New South Wales catchment area, and there's the whole Victorian catchment on this side. So there's some extra water coming from somewhere going into Yarrawonga Weir. It then seems to take a branch, so it goes through both Deniliquin and through point 5 here, which is Barham. And so you can actually come in here and multi-select those 2 points. So you can see that there's a combined 116 going in both directions. Ultimately, going to end up down here at Wackle Junction. So just as we get rid of this water, there's going to be another wave coming through. Okay, so the last data point I want to have a look at, or the last report page I want to have a look at, is this Big Bend notes. So we'll go and see what's happening up at Big Bend. Once again, no real change here. You can see that the rate of acceleration of the minimum levels above these key strategic locks are staying fairly proportionate. So, right down at lock 1, you can see that it's actually relatively flatter than it is up at lock 15. So I guess this is just the pattern of how it works. This is the change above the minimum or the normal minimum level. But come down and have a look at the upstream water here. So this is the combined water from these sources here. So this upstream number here, 218, is this number here, right? So it's the combination of Wackle Junction, the Murrumbidgee, and Darling. And you can see it's way above 93 and 2016. There's still no guarantee that all of that water will come down, but to me, it's looking increasingly like it will. And so obviously this is going to be a problem for all of us down at Big Bend. So that's it for today. I hope you're enjoying these updates. If you do enjoy them, or if you know somebody else that might enjoy them, please share the links so that they can watch these updates. I'll be back in a few days or when there's something significant to update.